In those 2 months he had had time to think it over and decide, promising himself that he would try at all costs to cancel his father at least for a time, and even to efface him from Petersburg, if possible, whether his mother agreed to it or not. "10 minutes ago, when Nastasia Philippovna came in, he had been so stricken, so stunned, that he had completely forgotten the possibility of Ardalian Alexandrovich's appearance on the scene, and had not made any arrangements. And so, here was the general, before them all, solemnly prepared and in a tailcoat besides, precisely at the moment when Nastasia Philippovna was only seeking a chance to shower him and his household with mockery. Of that he was convinced, and what, in fact, did her present visit mean if not that? Had she come to make friends with his mother and sister, or to insult them in his own house? But by the way both sides placed themselves, there could no longer be any doubt. His mother and sister sat to one side as if spat upon, while Nastasia Philippovna seemed to have forgotten they were even in the same room with her, and if she behaved like that, she certainly had her purpose. Ferdishchenko rushed to support the general and led him forward. Ardalian Alexandrovich Ivolgin, the bowing and smiling general said with dignity, an old and unfortunate soldier, and the father of a family happy in the hope of receiving into itself such a lovely. He did not finish. Ferdishchenko quickly offered him a chair from behind, and the general, somewhat weak in the legs after dinner, simply flopped or, better to say, collapsed into it. However, that did not embarrass him. He sat directly facing Nastasia Philippovna and, with a pleasant little grimace, slowly and dramatically brought her fingers to his lips. On the whole, it was rather difficult to embarrass the general. His appearance, apart from a certain slovenliness, was still quite decent, as he knew very well himself. In the past he had occasionally been received in very good society, from which he had been definitively excluded only 2 or 3 years ago. It was then that he gave himself over all too unrestrainedly to some of his weaknesses, but he still retained his adroit and pleasant manner. Nastasia Philippovna, it seemed, was exceedingly delighted by the appearance of Ardalian Alexandrovich, of whom she knew, of course, by hearsay. I've heard that this son of mine, Ardalian Alexandrovich began. Yes, this son of yours. And you're a fine one, too, Papa dear. Why don't I ever see you at my place? What, are you hiding, or is your son hiding you? You, at least, can come to me without compromising anybody. 19th century children and their parents, the general tried to begin again. Nastasia Philippovna. Please let Ardalian Alexandrovich go for a moment, someone is asking for him, Nina Alexandrovna said loudly. Let him go. Good heavens, I've heard so much, I've wanted to see him for so long. And what sort of business can he have? Isn't he retired? You won't leave me, General, you won't go? I give you my word that he'll come and see you himself, but now he's in need of rest. Ardalian Alexandrovich, they say you're in need of rest. Nastasia Philippovna cried, making a wry and displeased face, like a flighty, foolish little girl whose toy is being taken away. The general did his best to make his own position all the more foolish. My friend, he said reproachfully, turning solemnly to his wife and putting his hand to his heart. Won't you leave here, Mama? Varya asked loudly. No, Varya, I'll sit it out to the end. Nastasia Philippovna could not help hearing both the question and the answer, but it seemed to increase her gaiety still more. She immediately showered the general with questions again, and after 5 minutes the general was in a most triumphant mood and was oratorizing to the loud laughter of those present. Kolya pulled the prince's coat-tail. You at least take him away somehow. Can't you? Please. Tears of indignation even scalded the poor boy's eyes. Oh, damn you, Danka. He added to himself. Ivan Fyodorovich Epanchin and I were actually great friends, the general effused to Nastasia Philippovna's questions. He and I, and the late Prince Lev Nikolaevich Mishkin, whose son I embraced today after a 20-year separation, the three of us were inseparable, a cavalcade, so to speak, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis. 32 But, alas, one lies in his grave, struck down by slander and a bullet, another stands before you now and is still fighting against slander and bullets. Bullets! Cried Nastasia Philippovna. They're here, in my breast, received at cars, 33, and in bad weather I feel them. In all other respects I live like a philosopher, go about, stroll, play checkers in my cafe, like a bourgeois retired from business, and read the Independence. 34 But since that story of the lapdog on the train 3 years ago, my relations with our Porthos, Epanchin, have been definitively terminated. A lapdog? What was that? Nastasia Philippovna asked with particular curiosity. With a lapdog? And on the train, if you please, she seemed to be remembering something. Oh, a stupid story, not even worth repeating, because of Mrs. Schmidt, Princess Belokonsky's governess, but, it's not worth repeating. No, you absolutely must tell it. Nastasia Philippovna exclaimed gaily. I haven't heard it either, observed Ferdishchenko. C'est du nouveau. Ardalian Alexandrovich. Nina Alexandrovna's pleading voice rang out again. Papa, somebody's asking for you, cried Kolya. A stupid story, and briefly told, the general began self-contentedly. "2 years ago, yes. Or a bit less, just when the new railway line was opened, I, already in civilian dress, seeing to some extremely important matters to do with handing over my job, bought myself a first-class ticket, I got in, sat down, smoked. That is, I went on smoking, because I had lit up earlier.